Hey guys, we are live. Apologize if you can hear me. And welcome to episode 5 of the weekly. Everyone is running a little slow and late today, but I will be kicking off the show until others join in. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you guys in the chat. If since it's me, it's gonna be a little slower just to check in the chat there. But if you're listening to the podcast, I do apologize that I did not upload the last podcast. It's just been a very busy period, but it will be up. Oh, there we are. Everyone's back. Woo, okay, good. Welcome. I thought I was going to do this by myself. I was scared.
Oh, God. Shouldn't be allowed to do anything live on your own.
Wow. Thanks, man. Anyway, thanks for joining. We have, of course, Sam and Mr. Warren Bowman. How's it going, guys?
All right, it's going good.
All right, cool. Let's jump into it. MWC kicks off technically tomorrow. We're gonna have press conferences from Samsung, Huawei, everyone in there. But the first thing I want to talk about is the Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus pricing. It looks like this might be the first $1,000 Android device. You know, just from the European pricing at rumored pricing, by the way.
First $1,000 Android. It's not the first $1,000 Android device.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. It's really not. First premium of what we considered worth buying Android devices.
The Note 8 was around a grand, close enough.
It was close enough, but this is going to be.
You have the Boored 2 phones. And
that's never. Come on, let's not even go there. Come on, Boored 2.
No, and the diamond encrusted smartphones that are like worth $10,000.
Oh, but that's different. That's you putting in jewelry to get there. This has, none of that kind of stuff. But the rumored pricing is the S9 is at 841 euros, and the S9 Plus is 997 euros. Which, if you just do the currency rate, that
950 and the 1050.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that. Close.
Yeah, but you know how it normally goes. It's probably going to be like
it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter because you got to remember these pricings don't count. These pricings are so different in the U.S. because of trade-ins.
Exactly.
So trade-ins knock these phones off from $150 to $300 depending upon what it is. You remember, it's not the consumer technically pays at $849. It's the carriers that pay that giant price for that, and they have to recoup that through whatever hardware plan they decide to kind of put it into. That's why a lot of them would rather do this hardware subscription service, because they just end up making more money out of that, because they'll just get the phone back, they can recycle it for parts, and then or resell it or do whatever they want to do at that point. So that they can recoup some of the costs. So it's just like, remember when the iPhone 10 came out and it was $1,000, it was really for a lot of people somewhere around, if they were upgrading, as cheap as $700 if they got $300 back on a trading credit, trading credit or something like that. So I mean, it's not like these numbers were never high before. We've seen it's kind of been this way. Like I think $799, $899, and to me, $799, $899, and $999 not that much different from each other. You're still spending a good grip on a damn phone if you're gonna buy it outright. And outright prices back in the day used to be this anyways for way.
Oh yeah,
phones.
I remember my Nokia days, man. I spent close to $1,000 on a Nokia phone. Okay, so yeah.
like if you're an OG in the smartphone game, this pricing isn't technically all that bad considering what you get in terms of everything spec wise. I mean, it's almost like
people aren't going to be paying up front for this. It's going to be payments.
Yeah, we're going to have the monthly AT&T, T-Mobile, all those payments involved. So,
but it's like if you look at it, if you compare, I don't know. I would say if you go and compare a smartphone that was around $1,000, 10 years ago to what it is now, in different and you look at the specs and the features that you get, it's almost we're almost gaining we're almost gaining more on the other
I
side.
wouldn't even look at it that way. It's still how much they spend to make the phones, how much is the over, how much are they?
Yeah, but they were making gangbusters back then compared to now. You spend $1,000 on the phone. There's profit. There's barely profit now on $1,000 phones technically.
Cheaper. The technology has gotten cheaper. The manufacturing costs have gotten cheaper. They now have targeted marketing, so they can basically, sell these phones to a targeted demographic and know exactly, the amount of phones they're going to be selling. It's I don't think you can compare it that way, but when you look at just the whole idea that just phones are increasing in price, I think the question for me is, are they increasing in price because it's that much more difficult to build these devices, or are they increasing in price because they now know that people pay monthly for their phones and subscribe to these, hardware plans? So at the end of the day, they can charge more, and basically, and people will pay for it because they don't see that initial ding. So,
I mean, I do agree on that. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's more them trying to get a little bit more money for the amount of marketing they put into the thing. Because I mean, that's what really eats up the budget on most of these smartphones. Yes, the tech has gotten somewhat cheaper than it done in past years, but it's still not that much cheaper than it is now. They're still spending a little bit more, and the reality is that they're spending a lot on marketing dollars to push the product, and that's going to cost you more than pretty much anything else. So you're trying to recoup that part as much as you possibly can. So pushing it up a little bit more. I think it's just natural inflation that these things are getting pushed up a little bit more. I think if we were looking at $1,200 or $1,300 or $1,500 phones, then I would be like, oh, wait a minute. Now we're seeing some gouging happening. I think right now we're just in that area where companies is trying to make money. They know they got to sell a massive amount of these to make up for the marketing and expense costs that they do to push these devices to actually make the profits that they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, Sam has a point there of, what's really happening. Is it something where, the tech that's coming into these phones are really new and super fresh, where justifiably you can say it costs more, right? If it's something that's, really revolutionary, or is it the fact that, yes, they've improved these devices for us, and their costs are down, but now that they know that we are paying $25 a month, and we are going to upgrade anyway, because with T-Mobile, for instance, if you're a T-Mobile customer, I urge you to do this. You can upgrade your phone every month. Go ahead and do it. If you're going to be paying $25 a month, you might as well. So if Samsung is looking, or any other company is looking at going, wait, so these guys can upgrade monthly on T-Mobile, yearly in every other carrier, then might as well charge more. I mean, I'm just saying on the business side, it makes sense to do that.
But who are they charging? They're not charging directly to the consumer. They're the Verizon and the carriers got to buy the phones. So they're the ones that are paying that price. So they got to be able to then.
But not all the time. When you're doing a monthly plan, you still pay. Most people pay the full amount for that device.
Yeah, but they're paying the carrier that full amount.
Yeah,
they're not paying Samsung directly. You can go and pay Samsung directly. True. That's what I'm saying. It's like the majority of their phones are still bought out by Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, and AT&T that to buy that phone and bring it into the market for them to sell.
Yeah, but it depends on what exactly the agreements are, because
they're paying for they're buying that phones.
Excess inventory. What happens with excess inventory? Do they sell it back for a fraction of the cost? You never really know. Depending on what the deal is.
Well, in today's market, you got to remember, a phone sits. We don't realize this because all we see is the new, but a phone sits in the market for almost 2.5 to 3 years now. Because if you look at a phone, something like, let's say, I think there were still places where they were still selling the S7 as a new phone, and even though it's over a year old, it was still showing up on the website. They just discount the price down as much as they possibly can to push that product out still. So it's not like after a year all the phones just die off. It's they stay in circulation for a little while until they cut, and then they make the next one. I think they stop production after a year, obviously, but I think whatever's out there is out there, and they keep selling it until they can't sell it no more. And then I think maybe a buyback happens probably at that point. But then even then, some of those phones get shifted down into the prepaid market and into all these other places that they shove them in to make money. So
Yeah, I mean, but also they also have targets for what they do year after year. I mean, like AT&T will order the same amount as they did last year. There's a bare minimum, and depends on the hype, right? You either increase it a little bit or decrease it, whatever the case may be. But LGH has a point here. It says today's mid ranges with the Snapdragon 600 series look great just in terms of features. He says the A series could be a high end. I wouldn't say it's a high end, but definitely looks like. That's something that's changed in the market as well. Is our mid rangers, when you look at those OnePluses and the rest of them, have changed a lot of that.
There's one problem with those. Okay. Most of those really good mid rangers don't have a carrier push behind it. True. So if they had a carrier push behind it, it would really shock the pricing more. We would see that pricing come down, because then Samsung and Apple would be forced to compete against these other companies. Right now, the only people that puts out mid-rangers at a high quality that get carrier push is LG, realistically. And the other player was HTC in that game. They're the two that do that. But they put out a series of phones, and people buying a portfolio of the phones that are there. Now, because we're in such an unlocked world, and you can go anywhere you want to go, companies like Blue don't need a carrier deal. But I think if they do get something like a carrier deal where they're being sold in a T-Mobile store, they're being sold in a AT&T store, and it's this $300 phone competing against a $700 phone with very similar features or close feature sets to it, those folks that buy the newest phone, but they buy it because that's the best that the best that's out there, might want to get this phone because it's really the feature set that they need. But there's no way for them to see that without going online and searching online for those things. But if somebody in a store can sell that to them, it would be a huge game changer for everyone. But then you also got to tell OnePlus to protect everyone's data. So good luck with that
one. I mean, it's interesting how, just a side note there of like, as much as the online buying space, especially Amazon, has grown leaps and bounds just in the last year, that especially when it comes to mobile, going to the store and picking up your device from T-Mobile, AT&T, and all the rest of them is still king.
If Amazon had a mobile service that could tie to their phones, then it's a huge game changer at that point, because then now you're selling service along with the phone.
Oh, you mean like Amazon and they go the MVM route with either piggyback off T-Mobile or
if they piggyback off of a network or someone, T-Mobile, Sprint, whoever the heck. Or do something similar to what Project Fi kind of is, and instead of just only
stop giving Jeff Bezos ideas, because that shit is going to be rolling out.
It is already. I'm pretty sure that's already thought of. I'm pretty sure they've looked at what Project Fi has been able to do and realized Google's limitation on Project Fi is the fact that they can't piss off their partners and carriers. Because the reality is they could say, oh, we'll just put this on every phone and give this cheap service out, and they know that's just going to piss off people. But Amazon doesn't have a requirement for that. So if you have an Amazon mobile service, and then you can buy obviously the iPhone, the latest iPhone, the latest Samsung's devices that are out there, but then you can also buy their
Amazon preferred devices, which is going to be priced cheaper again.
But and the nice thing about that is that'll be maybe that OnePlus, maybe that Blue phone that'll be in there. The Nokia phones will be in there. Maybe now Samsung can maybe
even Essential will get a life.
I am trying. Yeah, even the A said that Samsung A series of phones that we usually only see at CES could possibly come out here, and we could see that pushed out to everyone. So I fully believe that could be a thing online that would really change the market. But until somebody sits back and does that, or these mid-rangers get a deal in with the carriers, it's going to be this space for a while. While we know that these phones are cheap and we can push them to people, it's convincing the masses, which is the hardest thing to do, because they want to go into a store and see it, because that's where they're used to buying a phone. Or they go online to a website, but they can trust that the website has the latest and greatest phones for them online there from the carriers, but not necessarily from Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, definitely true. So I guess, we're not too concerned about the 1K pricing, even though, I mean, look, I nailed Apple hard on the 1K pricing of the iPhone 10. So
it still shouldn't have been $1,000. We nailed that, but the fact is the feature set wasn't $1,000 worthy. That was the thing. That I can justify nailing Apple's on the iPhone 10 for that, because that should have been like an $800 phone. It really should have been. And that's what it was.
It has the Apple tax, man. So you can't just say $800.
Hey, hold that. Clearly that Apple tax ain't worked too well for them now, did it? They gave them the X instead and went and got other phones. So
okay, all right.
We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear new pricing on that phone coming up soon. I would not be surprised.
We have to wait and see. Moving on to our good friends at Sony. They're the other, because pretty much from all rumblings, it looks like LG's not making any major announcements, HCC's not making any major announcements, and we got a leak of the Xperia XZ2 coming out at MWC.
I'm gonna do the same thing I do every time we announce a Sony phone.
When's it coming to the US? Okay.
Who cares? Because we know it's gonna be like 2 years for it shows up in the US.
Yeah.
I mean that's a company like Sony could really benefit from an MVNO like Amazon to sell their phones.
Yeah, that's true.
They'd be actually be able to compete in that space.
I don't.
It's really who buys the last major carrier to really have a phone from them, I believe, was T-Mobile from like 2 years ago.
No, I think it was AT&T. I don't even know.
I know Verizon had one 3 years ago, but I think T-Mobile had one. Was it last year? Maybe it was sometime around. They had one of the Xperia phones, and that was literally the last time that they had a major thing. And his Fat Produce says the only announcement aspect from HTC is bankruptcy. I don't think there'll be bankruptcy, but what we'll hear is who bought them and
we're getting to HTC in a second. We're getting to HTC in a second, but I mean, I think with Sony though, you know, spec wise and the device, it's nice. I'm just a little bit bummed out looking at the specs that is 1080p plus, but you know, it depends on what the pricing is. If it comes up,
what's it called? Xperia what?
XZ2.
It's not gonna come here. That's the thing. It's not gonna show up here.
They couldn't call it the X2 or the Z2. They decided the XZ2.
Well, you gotta remember because their only market they sell in is Australia. So it's dead too. The only market they really sell these phones in is down there. They don't even sell in their own home market well.
Okay. I'm not
trying to down Sony like they're garbage. No, they actually make good phones. Outside of like, I just wish when they make their cameras, they make them as good with the software as other manufacturers make with their cameras. But they do make good products. That's the thing. They make phones that would sell here. The software can be a little iffy at times. I think they put a little too much into it, and it could use a little bit of redesigning. But they have things that people want. There's almost nothing in their phones that isn't in a Samsung Galaxy phone. There almost isn't anything. They pretty much go spec for spec very, very well. And most of the phones that they've never come out here in the US beats out Samsung's competitors from LG and from HTC in almost every spec. But they don't care to do anything about it.
Paul is saying some of the Xperia phones sell very well in the UK as well.
I think that's the second best market. It's like the UK. I mean, and I think that's saying more to the fact I don't think companies like LG and HTC and Motorola do that well over there. So I think when you have Samsung, you always have three branches. You have Samsung and Apple, and then whoever the third person is on the side getting whatever left in the scraps. And I wouldn't be surprised with Sony over there that's getting that, because they've always had a pretty decent footing in the UK for a while.
I'm missing something here. Ronald, why are you giving us the breakdown for each carrier? Because Ronald's giving us the carrier breakdowns. Like Verizon's $117 billion in debt, has $2 billion cash flow. T-Mobile is $30 billion in debt, less than $1.6 billion in free cash. Sprint's $36 billion in debt, 4.4. He gave us AT&T. I can't remember where. Please let me know where that originated from. Just the financial breakdowns for each of these companies.
I really don't even think it matters how much debt they have versus their liquidity or versus their cash flow. But I think it's basically more operational costs, right? If basically that's debt, represents a lot more of the operational costs, then it's just they're just running a debt for tax purposes that they could probably pay off with the gains from any specific years. Look at what they make on a given year, what their profits are in a given year, and then compare that versus their debt, and you see they're probably just keeping the debt rolling for whatever tax or regulatory purposes.
Yeah, they're trying to keep it. They're trying to make it look like they're not making any money, even though they are. They're making money hand over fist, but
okay, all right, cool. All right, let's move on. Smartphone sales hit its first decline ever in Q4 of 2014. Are we seeing the beginning of the end, or the beginning of the change from smartphones to something else? Is this what's going to spur that change, where we now have devices that just feel like we're in a sci-fi movie, or are we still going to be looking at screens the whole time?
Well, I know that everyone's going to say it's the death of smartphones for the next 5 years since they heard that. They'll keep saying it over and over again.
Remember, the tablets are dead. No one sells tablets anymore, right?
Yeah, but that died is quite.
Come on, I'm being.
Android
tablets maybe, but people still buy tablets. People still use them for stuff. If you look at what are the point of sales out there? Look at the new point of sales for all these smaller shops. They're all tablets.
But they're all Samsung tablets.
They just merge into something else.
They're all Samsung tablets.
No. Tablets are in a serious decline. I'll put it that way, because Apple still sells quite a bit of iPads, but that was killed by
used to.
Yeah, but that was killed by the death of the PC and the reemergence of the Surface line.
Death of the PC.
Type product.
Exactly. That's
what this is going at. This smartphones are dying is the same thing as the death of the PC argument.
Everything
over and over again. And how long do we have the death of the PC argument? What, for like 15 years? But I'm still sitting here with a desktop.
The smartwatch died, man. Don't forget that the smartwatch died.
That shit was going to die. I said that shit was going to die a long time ago.
That's the thing, but they're still not dead. They're just people are using them differently.
What?
Apple
Sam?
Still sells.
What, Sam?
Samsung is still coming out with them.
Apple, Samsung, and Fitbit. Again,
I think LG is still coming out with theirs. Although Nokia phones.
They're all coming out with phones. They're all coming out with these projects because they already invested money into them. So they got to come out with something. You know as well as I do that plan. I think at the end of the day, 2 years before it.
What people are seeing is the fact that people are moving more, because I see more people with Fitbits now than I do with like the regular smartwatches, because at the end of the day, people realize that it is a measurement device, like a fitness device, right? People are not buying as many tablets as they used to because their phones are getting bigger. They have smaller multi-form factor laptops that they can use instead of just a tablet. So the same thing with phones. Like people phones are all over the place. People are oversaturated. I think that's what Ronald Collins says. Like the saturation is pretty high right now because everyone has what is essentially like a middle of the road phone. But then if you break it down then by phones, like I think we've even said this before, if you break it down by phones like the Note 8, the LG V30, you start seeing that maybe there's growth in those sectors because people are like, oh, the creators want to go more towards a certain kind of phone because that's what they want, and the road warriors want to go towards a certain kind of phone because that's what they want. So I think it's just like people are saying we need more specialized phones for people who need these high processing creation device or work device, and then everything else is probably just going to swing more towards the mid-range phones, and that's what everyone's going to use. Like we just said a few minutes ago, mid-range phones are looking pretty good anyway, so why not make that the go-to phones for everyone, and then the creators and the road warriors have their own certain different sectors.
Yeah, Sam is pimping his his division of labor smartphone idea constantly every week. He's getting
saying that because that's what's happening, man. That's what's happening.
I'm just saying, who sat here and said this? Who sat here and said that smartwatches would die, but fitness trackers will go up 4 years ago?
I think we both said that, and I agree with that. You were saying that. I think
you agreed with that. It was he over there rocking like 6 smartwatches on his wrist and stuff.
Before you even throw me in that category, didn't I admit quickly and then I stopped using smartwatches.
That wasn't admitted quickly. You stopped.
It took you a few years, man.
It was literally a year and a half. You said 4 years. And I said, look, I'm done with it.
4 years last year. I said 4 years since I said it.
Yeah, but
it's just changed for the last couple of years. But you wrong about a year and a half.
What does a smartwatch do to?
Because they promised me a Star Trek communicator. I didn't get it.
Listen, if Michael Fisher hasn't already reviewed that communicator, it does not exist.
Look,
he will be the first one to have that.
So you know what really got me with it? Look, Samsung. I'm telling you that first ad for the first Galaxy Gear Watch. Yeah. That was an awesome ad though, because it literally just gave me every single like sci-fi dream all in one, and it didn't even do a tenth of that, and they still don't do a tenth of it at all.
And the biggest issue we came with smartwatches, which just reverting back to that just real quickly. The reality was that the pricing was not very good for those. They were very expensive for what they did, and they tried to compare that they were cheaper than what traditional really high quality watches cost, but that just wasn't a very good comparison. They were two different markets. How are you going to
compare a smartwatch versus
they were two different markets?
Yeah, exactly.
See, but you know what has killed the smartwatch itself? And I knew this was going to happen once Fossil jumped into the game. Where Fossil hybrid watches do a few things here and there, but they really fit that motif of what people want. Like you said, fitness trackers, right? So it's either you get a watch with a fitness tracker, or you get a watch that will give you a couple of things, and you're good. Yeah. Or you get that pure fitness smartwatch.
And it's not complicated.
It's not exactly.
It's not overly complicated trying to do too many things in one thing. And that was kind of the problem with a lot of the smartwatches that were out there. They were just trying to do all these things in this one little package that it couldn't do any of them very well. It just kind of just did it. It was jack of all trades. It mastered none of them. And most people that are buying smartwatches now, I really think they get it from when they go to the store, they buy a new phone. Somehow it's tied into whatever. They buy this phone, you get this smartwatch at this price, and you can pay it off at this particular payment. So I think that's why people end up getting it. I think they get it a lot of times on deals, not necessarily going directly into a store and just saying they want one. And I think a lot of, it's just kind of, that's just kind of the way smartwatches panned out. But going back to saying smartphone sales in decline, smartphone sales are in decline, I think, truthfully, because it's just oversaturated at the moment. And last year, there wasn't any, if you had a phone that was good, there wasn't any reason to buy a new phone. They really wasn't. If you had a phone from 2016, maybe even 2015, your phone still stood up pretty well to what came out in 2017. So there wasn't a need to make that jump just yet. And I think people are buying these phones and sticking to them for just a little bit longer. They might go a year and a half or so, because it's a bit of a process, even though it still takes, I think it's easier now than it's ever been to swap devices between them, but it's still a bit of a process, and people might want to delay it when they feel like they have downtime, or they feel like it's a good period to do so. It's not like these things truly go on sale. Everything's based on a trade-in all year round, or you get some extra bonus with it. That's what they mostly offer you. Most of the deals are just a bonus on top of whatever it is, including what now damn near 32-inch 4K TVs that they keep offering with phones now. Whenever Samsung puts out a new phone, I'm pretty sure the S9, you go to Verizon, the S9 they'll offer that, whatever new gear, and then you can or whatever new gear, whatever new VR thing, and there's also probably a deal to get a free 32-inch TV to go along with the damn thing too. Like, I mean, that's really what this.
That 32-inch TV though is truly TV that's been sitting there for a while, because
whatever that that's a TV they reboxed, remade, put it out. That's something they introduced 3 years ago, but we put a new little sticker on it and say this year's TV with the latest software, and just call it a day, because that free TV. And I've been one of those times I've been wanting to go in and say, what the hell's my free TV? I've been wanting to go in there sometimes, like, let me just buy this phone so I get this free TV. It's just funny. I'm going into a phone store and getting a free TV out of it. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. That's Best Buy that started that crap, by the way. I know they did.
But if you look at the table from Gartner about this whole cell phone decline, right? Q4 2017 is when they're saying there was a decline. 2017 overall was pretty good. There was like an uptick of about 40,000 more units sold, which is not big, but
that is the problem when they're showing us this last year but they're not showing us. Oh, they're not showing. Okay, they did show.
They're showing.
Oh no, I see it now. I didn't have it open.
They're looking at just Q4. In Q4, there was a decline, right? You look at the decline in Q4. For Samsung, they're saying the decline in Q4 was
100,000 units.
No.
I'm looking for. I'm sorry. I'm looking over. I'm sorry. I'm looking at year-over-year sales between 2016 to 2017, and I'm like, the decline was like 100,000 units. Did we forget that they had a bomb for a phone the year before?
Yeah.
I don't know how this number works that at all, which probably meant they sold more of the S7 because of it.
Yeah, probably. But if you look at the Q4 numbers, I just want to go on the Q4 numbers, right? It's a $2,000 difference. I mean, the 2,000 unit difference, right?
For Samsung,
sorry, that's 2 million.
2 million.
Yeah, 2 million units. Sorry, 2 million unit difference.
Well, they're in thousands of units, so you gotta.
Yeah. So the next for the year over year though, they sold about another close to 14 million more units year over year. So for one quarter, 2 million down, but for the overall year,
yeah, true. But
the problem with that number is it includes the fact that they had a phone that got recalled.
Yeah.
So when you're doing the missing number, that's that recalled phone essentially.
Yeah,
the number because if that Note 7 never got recalled and it's sold, we'd probably see just a stagnant number. We probably see the same. We probably wouldn't have grown. It probably look exactly the same.
Or the dip would have been really, really minuscule.
Yeah, really minuscule.
Well, I mean, I think the mentality here with this is not necessarily. It's not the year of the year. I mean, it's they've never seen a dip especially a Q4 is not the time when you get a dip. Traditionally, you shouldn't, because that's a time where people are doing that upgrade again. You know, the upgrade cycle comes twice a year for devices. Usually it's around a holiday season, and then it's usually around between tax season as well. So that I think that's just more the key point is like, why is it that the biggest season to sell stuff we have a dip?
Probably because not a lot of people bought iPhone 10s. I mean, that's probably where the dip is. People looked at it and just there wasn't that exclusive hysteria that they thought there was going to be. Where the phone would sell out, they put another dump out there, then that would sell out too, and then there's your fourth quarter, or your numbers match up with a very little dip or maybe a little bit more. But I think that had a lot to do with Apple probably not putting out what people felt was that compelling with the iPhone 10. I think that's what that leads to, because they put the other two phones, they put out 3 phones last year, and I think it might have confused some of the market too.
Yeah, no, I think the 3 phone thing definitely confused the market. I said this, I was like, Apple should have made the iPhone 8 Plus the iPhone 10 and just had 2 devices and kept it simple. Because
I think they wanted the 8 Plus. It should have been the regular.
No. I'm just saying that you skip it, but you make that SKU your 10 SKU.
Exactly.
Well, I think the problem was that they wanted a phone that the Plus could compete technically with the Note 8. They wanted something that they say, well, this is our Note 8 competitor, even though we know it's not in the Apple ecosystem. That's what they think that.
No. I get it. I'm just saying you just take out the 8 Plus and literally just take and just cut it out.
I think you keep an 8 Plus and an iPhone 10. I think you take last year's 7, you just uptick it and put a S or whatever the heck on to that thing.
Yeah, but you're still leaving people with 3. Remember, I mean,
but that's fine, because you still got to leave that. You still got to leave the small phone for people with tiny hands.
No, I know. Yeah, the small phone is the one that needs to stay. The thing is that Apple has, and Juan. Sorry, I said Juan. Wow, I just did that. Juan keeps
exactly what we told you. Keep doing.
He keeps saying this constantly. Is Apple has too many devies.
They have too many.
And there's 2 each year, and then you now have 3. And what I got from most people who are like, who are Apple users are like, should I get the 10? But isn't the 8 Plus the same? Okay, for my hand size, yeah, I'll get the 8. They already know they either don't want to get it or not, because it's about size and battery. That it's already staple. So then they're confused. They're like, but these 2 are kind of the same size and battery, and is the display that better? I don't know. I mean, you're already confusing them. And most people were like, 1,000, I'll go with the 8 Plus automatically. You know, because they're like, all right, I know what it does. It's like the 7 Plus. I got better battery life. I can move forward. I'm not sure if I want to do swipe up and there's no touch ID. There's so many things that
there was a lot of things that were,
will
going
push
on
people away. Yeah, on this devices. So
it was too much change for the sake of change at that point with them. They
Yeah.
were trying to catch up, and they just went a little bit overboard, I think, in all the moves they were making with that. And I think the notch was also something that not a lot of people cared for either.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, one of the things that I noticed from a lot of tech reviewers were talking about how. So I saw a couple articles that said everyone should adopt the gesture features, and Michael Fisher was like, "This is what this is what Palm OS, because you know he loves Palm OS. He's like Palm OS invented this stuff years ago. I mean, we had it from Palm for a long time,
and it sucked when it was on Palm.
and people are making it seem like Apple did something revolutionary. It just
no, yeah, I know. I still don't believe in a whole gesture-based operating system. I still don't believe that on a mobile device. I still think having some type of click down or tactile feel to be able to control things around is still a valuable thing to have. I still think having some type of manual controls over gestures will appease people more, even if they like, as long as you give them the option between the two. I think not having the option is going to frustrate most people, and then they're not going to want to use it.
Certain things on my phone that are way easier to get to with gestures than it would be using like a manual or multiple taps, right? So I can see a phone that works with a lot of gestures, but I would say you need to ease people into it. You can't just change a lot of the more important everyday use cases and just replace them with
gestures. You got to advertise why to use those features. You got to push it. Yeah. You've got to make it, hey, we still have the safety net here of the old stuff, but this is why this is great. Apple's ads didn't do any of that with the gestures.
Yeah, if you take from, I think the best
people dancing around.
The best gestures I've seen, that I've encountered so far, is still on the Note 8. When you want to pull out a digital card to pay for something, when you want to use Samsung Pay, it's just a swipe from the bottom. This is something that's there because Samsung Pay is something that it's somewhat new to the Android ecosystem, something very specific to a use case. They're not replacing like launching your camera with like a swipe up or a swipe down. You still have to either hit a button or hit the actual icon to do that. So they're not changing things that are very like everyday use. They're changing something that's somewhat more new, something that people are like, oh, okay, I have this new feature and this is how I use it. Not like, oh, I used to do this like a certain way for the last few years, and all of a sudden I now have to use some kind of swipe gesture or some kind of, I don't even know what the gestures are on the iPhone to actually to do this now. You have to implement it a little differently. And I don't think they implemented it well at all. Because everyone I see using the X, none of them use gestures on that thing. No one uses gestures on that thing. Everyone I've seen use it.
Well, you severely limit the gestures until the ones that you're forced to use. That's really what it boils down to. And my usage of it, it's just if you're forced to use it, you use it. If not, you found another way around it.
Yeah,
my cameras have an issue.
It's like them changing gestures and doing all that radical change. It's just and people not taking too well to it is almost the same as Snapchat and their damn update on their app that people like the Kardashians are quitting Snapchat. Whichever one was it? Is it a Kardashian or a Jenner? Which one?
I saw that article. That was Kylie Jenner. Yeah.
Oh, when she is the article about their stock price dropping, their value dropping.
Yeah.
Because she said she wasn't going to use Snapchat anymore. I've checked into the app myself and looked at it, and I was like, this update does kind of suck. Like it's just not. I'm like the only nice thing I could say for it is that it's made it a little bit easier to get news stories to pick up on a couple of things. That's the one thing I've used Snapchat for. Like Vice has something nice on. I don't know how the hell I got Vice on this thing, but somehow Vice and a couple of things
promoted. It's promoted.
Some of the promoted stuff in there, like, oh, that's an interesting story, and I'll watch the snap of that interesting story. I still have yet to post a snap ever myself. It's mostly just it's mostly just there for the couple of people that might communicate when we're at an event or something like that with some friends. But beyond that,
the thing is that Snapchat did an update that didn't address the biggest issue, and the issue is creating communities between themselves. People follow me on Snapchat, but I can't actually converse with them as a whole. It's just individual. And if you're a celebrity, it makes sense. It makes sense for that crowd because you don't necessarily want to converse with every single fan. You want to share stuff with them.
But you can make a public and private story. So there should be a way public and private chats or different ways for fans that maybe want to chat with one another in a specific little group.
They just don't have they don't have.
Like the hilarious thing is that Facebook groups be perfect for this crap. What Facebook pages is supposed to do would work well with Snapchat.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
It would work well with Snapchat, but then they're creating their own thing in Facebook pages that does that, but they only list it at the celebrities. But then they forgot nobody checks Facebook pages, so there you go.
No, it's not that nobody checks Facebook pages. We all know how it is. You post something on a Facebook page, Facebook will tell you, how about you promote it so that all your people who already subscribe to your page can actually view it.
If I could send this emoji every single time they say that, if I could just do this every time that thing comes up, man. It's just like you have like, dislike, happy, sad, whatever. But if I could do this to your status when you put that crap out there, I love it.
That's actually a maniacally brilliant way to get money up for people, though.
The thing is,
hey, do you want people to see this?
I don't see. The thing is, I don't mind promoting. I don't mind promoting content and paying for promotion. I just don't want to see it every damn post I push up. You should be a little smarter on the algorithm because if you put it out there and you see people of my fans reacting to it, you should be sitting there saying, do you want to meet not only more of your fans, but other fans outside of it, then pay into the system. I'm fine with that. But I want my stuff to actually go out.
If you want your stuff to go out without us telling you or reminding you to let it go out, you could start with the monthly plan of like,
Actually, I meant to. How much was that monthly plan?
I didn't even know, man. I can't remember. Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, last topic. Hcc is restructuring. They're combining their mobile and VR divisions together, and of course, there are going to be some layoffs as well.
We're prepping to get sold. We're trying to get bought, so we downsize to make it easier to somebody else to buy us.
Couldn't have said it better.
That's what it is. I mean, and who do I think out of anyone? I wouldn't be surprised if it was like. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Lenovo. I really wouldn't.
No, I would be surprised if it is Lenovo.
Well, they
has their own,
it has Motorola.
But there is some key manufacturing things that they have an advantage with HTC over Motorola, and HTC sells more phones than the Motorola brand did before they got fired.
You know who can buy this?
And the VR thing is a big thing.
You know who can buy this out of the cut that I think probably might buy it?
Amazon,
Samsung.
No,
this is a very easy buy. I mean, look, you still have good engineers and good guys from the mobile team.
They wouldn't do it,
but the VR guys,
those guys, man. Google took the phone guys, so the only
VR guys are the ones that the Samsung will want to jump in.
They can just wait for those guys to jump ship.
Oculus for their at least for their Gear VR.
Yeah, they don't want that.
So, I don't think Samsung wants to play in the market of
VR. I mean, then again, there's also Oculus just buying this as well.
No,
Facebook. No,
anti-competition.
No,
who's going to say anti-competition? This is a Chinese. This is a Taiwanese company. Remember?
Facebook would get so much crap. Yeah. It would be like when Sam gave him crap about buying Oculus times 10. Like,
yeah.
There'd be protests outside of Mark Zuckerberg's office.
The only other play would be would be
no, not Microsoft.
Yeah, Microsoft, because Microsoft is looking at buying Steam. You might as well just buy this and just call it a day.
Microsoft already has their solution.
I think
no, they don't have their solution fully. That solution.
No, they have AR. They're not going the VR route. They're going the AR route.
Yeah, I think the two options
Microsoft is XR, not AR. Remember?
Oh, I'm sorry, XR.
Mixed reality.
I think there's two options, and I think it's really either Lenovo purchases them and brings them into the fold and takes advantage of what they have of a nice solid set of patents and IPs and stuff that they can bring into that game, and they get a great VR head start there with that because they have computers that power it, so it's pretty good to also have that as well in the portfolio with HTC Vive. Either that or it's Amazon that buys them and gets them into that.
I mean, Amazon, yes, is probably
and allows them to make phones. And allows them to do a few other things, make other devices. It allows them to add into that portfolio of devices that they like to add into.
Amazon sounds more like the better buy.
They would be the better. They would be the better company to buy it that would do something with it. But I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if it's Lenovo adding that VR to the portfolio. And
all right, so Sam, what do you think? Because I know you're
I don't know. I really don't know. Amazon, to me, would sound like the only company right now that I would say would want to take it only because of Twitch, and this might be something that would add to their Twitch ecosystem. But nah, I don't see who would want to buy this. And I think the reason, like you said, Warren, the reason is they're combining HTC, Vive, and the phone divisions together is to make it a little bit more appetizing for someone else to buy them, because right now there really isn't anyone who wants to buy HTC for their phones. Google already took all those engineers, so you need someone to VR.
They didn't take all the engineers. They took most.
They took the ones that matter. Okay,
but it comes down to the VR, the Vive, and if you're looking at that, I think the players in that are your Lenovo's who already have a VR with the mixed Windows reality stuff like that.
Sony.
They can't afford it at all. But having Vive
Sony already has their solution.
Think about Vive. Think about Vive and Vive connecting with Lenovo in a similar space of what Dell did with Alienware or HP does with Omen. It's just putting that stuff together, of taking what they already have an existing product, giving something else that also has a great brand recognition to it, and pushing it together. And they can make a really big push for VR in the home space because they'll have the machines readily available to do so. I think Amazon is a good space because they can not only use the VR portion, which they'll just keep that as Vive, and they have obviously AWS that can take advantage of some of the things that that VR can do, but they can also use those bits and parts of the phone division that's still around to help create better devices for themselves as well too. So I think that's really your two. There's probably more players in it than that. There could be other smaller groups that could buy on.
Maybe Microsoft for the Xbox division, but I don't think Microsoft would do that.
They don't want to buy any more hardware.
Yeah, I don't think they would. I think they'll probably just use something like a Asus, someone who's already making something, and you say, "Hey, make something for the Xbox."
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure who really would want HTC's Vive.
But that's the thing. It's like HTC is very similarly set up to Asus. Asus just has the advantage of being huge in the motherboard division, still being pretty big in making white label devices.
Realizes that they are still an OEM that make their own devices.
Yeah. But if somebody asks them to make a device, they just go ahead and just make it.
HTC is now a company that makes their own devices, no longer really is an OEM, but they're still acting like an OEM.
Yeah. So Asus business model is interesting because when they do make devices away, they do really good, timely stuff. Like they don't always for instance, their router. The routers are one of the best routers.
Yeah,
I mean,
one of the highest routers.
Other than the Linksys, like you'll get in a Asus router, literally. But it's one of those things that they've known that, okay, look, we're an OEM, we have our product, but when we make it, let's just place it now. And now You know, as opposed to HTC.
Yeah, they have really weird timing because I bought a new monitor and I was waiting for the damn HDR version of this monitor. That still isn't out. It doesn't look like it's coming out anytime soon. But I know if it comes out within a year, I'm gonna be pissed. But it's just like, you know, their monitor. But they are like that. The only thing they do on a regular track record is really their motherboard products.
Oh yeah,
and that's about it. Everything else they kind of do when we need it, we'll put it out there. And so it's like
they're not even ahead of the curve. They're usually right at the right time.
It's just like with the ZenBook series. They haven't really put out a better version of the ZenBook Pro that they put out 2 years ago. They have new ZenBook Pros essentially, but it's really just like there's a reason why I still have my ZenBook Pro and I haven't gone and gotten the new one. Because they haven't really made a new version of that just yet.
Well, but also again, I think what it is that the laptop market itself is going through a very interesting transition. I mean, we have Intel working with AMD using AMD graphics. Intel is now working its own GPU for that. NVIDIA is doing the opposite and says you can stream and use our streaming power for your gaming, you know, all that kind of stuff. Where when it settles down is when we now see the next generation of you know, PC hardware where lower powered hardware can do much more, because that's really, I mean, for laptops, sorry, that's really where that is going to be. And then we're going to get back into those. Remember the Dell Adamo, if you guys can remember that this is Dell's first Ultrabook, super thin. It had this business. This is before there were processors that could fit in properly to handle those kind of designs. You know, now we have processors that can do that quite well. But I think we're gonna get back to that era where thin and light is really
PC, small but thick.
We're gonna get back to that era where like you truly have that really light portable PC, and then you know you add the Qualcomm side of it with the Qualcomm Windows. Even though Microsoft unwillingly listed all the limitations online and then took it up. This was last week. I just can't remember where the article is, but basically, I mean, there are some limitations because your it's basically what do you call it? It's not running natively on the device. Windows on 835 is not. It's virtualized, right? Yeah. So I mean, there are some limitations. But Microsoft just listed it before any of the products have actually even hit.
Yeah, like, that was a stupid.
I was like, I mean, like, it's not limitations. Like the average user will not know or care. It's not going to disturb anyone who just regularly using it. It's just power users, and that device is not built for power users anyway. But it was just funny that was just listed out there.
Yeah, I would excuse me. I would say that it's getting interesting with these low power devices that can do more, but I think the big game changer will be that when we can get a mobile based 6-core processor out in regular use, that wants something you can just buy that isn't like a desktop grade clock down or something like that, but is like a true multi-core chip, 6-core chip running on a laptop or running on an Ultrabook. I think that'll be the next big change that we can get. But obviously, that has a lot to do with battery life costs and things like that to really push those things. But that would be the one thing I would say, man. If they could really do that, that would really change the game for performance users, not just in gaming, but content creators who would just go nuts over something like that. Because like, I get 2 more cores, I can really do some real 4K editing on this thing and really crank out some stuff here with this while I'm on the go. So I think until then, I think it's what we're seeing is like everyone's trying to converge together to save each other, to try and keep costs as low as possible, so that they can make these smaller, cheaper devices, but earn as much profit as possible as they can on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to a lot of these devices as well, and we start talking about laptops, and we start talking about these more portable devices, I think the phone really is what's like kind of threatening those devices as well, right? Because on my phone right now, my Note 8 right now, I can dock it and have it as a desktop. You know, if that ever.
So do you like Project Linda?
Actually, haven't checked out Project Linda yet.
Oh, you need to. dude, I mean, just check out the video on the channel. What kind of guy on the channel is this? Can't even watch a video on the channel. I mean, like,
I've been quite busy. Not watching. I've been quite busy. That's why. But no, I will check it out. I will check it out. I think that's where the future is going to. I think it's going to be more like when you put your phone down, the wirelessly charge your phone, you put it down, and that automatically just like launches a desktop. Because who would want to buy? Think about it. Right?
I'm still not like I have.
But for what
people for Project Ninja doesn't sell me. Because my problem is that we've seen other people do this. They don't have the clout to do this and make me believe it in the way that if I see Samsung or Google do this, then I believe in it more. Like if I see them do that, then I believe in it.
See, the one thing I liked about Project Linda was actually their the laptop Android OS. It looked better than Chrome as far as I'm concerned because
you're talking about this. Oh, I've seen this. Yeah. I didn't watch the video. I saw the video. No.
Yeah. See, Sam's in the same boat as me.
Yeah. I said the only thing I like is what they did in the OS. I told them that
15 seconds. It took me about maybe 30 seconds to look at that and go, no.
No, I said the same thing when I met them. I was like, this is not going to work. I mean,
the idea is not to buy another laptop to put your phone in. The idea is just basically to have a monitor that could be a TV monitor, dock your phone, and have a desktop when you need a desktop.
No, I have another device. But the thing is, fail because even that too is. I mean, it's easier to maybe go to a co-working space and get a monitor. I do agree on that aspect. But Project Linda also will say. You don't have to be stuck somewhere too. You can literally. I'm just giving.
What are you?
I get the concept. We saw Motorola do this with the Atrix. Remember, Motorola did this with the Atrix.
Oh yeah, I remember with the Atrix. But what I'm saying is, to me personally, I still think both ideas are bad. I'm not a big fan of DeX.
Personally, I think it's a good idea. The problem is that who's behind that idea. To me, it's if Samsung says here's the DeX docking station for the S9 Plus or whatever the heck it is, or most likely be the Note they'd push this with. Here's your Note 9 with the Note Station, whatever you want to call it, Note Station,
wireless Note Station,
wireless blah blah charging, works as a charger, blah 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 with DeX. If that shows up, I far more believe in grabbing that for mobile computing than I would with Razer putting it out. Even with Microsoft with Windows.
But it makes sense because Samsung is a bigger company and they will push it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think the idea is bad. I don't think the idea is necessarily bad. I think it's bad for them to do it because I just all right, I'm not going to buy your phone, so that's already a given. So if you made this dock work with anyone, that'd be a little bit different story. But this dock,
wink.
This clearly is made for
wink.
Just your phone.
Wink. I'll just put it that way. Wink.
And I really feel that like the phone being its own device without needing a companion device to do work is more powerful than saying, "Oh, this is the phone, but you need a companion device." Like a companion screen. To be able to get this to work properly.
Sam, let's be real here. Last year, they had put out some type of laptop-style docking station with the Note 8. We'd all sit here and have it. We'd all would have sat there and rocked it.
No, I wouldn't have. The only reason I like the DeX. The only reason I like the DeX is because
even E knows you're lying on that one.
The only reason I like the DeX is because the DeX is a very small form factor. That's the only reason I like it. I can easily just set it up on my desk, at my office desk. It's unobtrusive. No one's like, "Why are you bringing your laptop to work?"
But here's the other part, right? Where some people will mention, and Paul did. He says, "Huawei's solution is better. It's just bring a cable and done."
That is essentially what it should be.
Bring a cable and done, and then you can connect a Bluetooth mouse, Bluetooth keyboard, and you're
There's a whole lot of connecting to do.
No.
One dock and you drop.
No, but even the dock too, you still have to.
That's more complicated. That's going to be more complicated for a user. For business users, trust me on this, that's a more complicated solution than dropping that into a docking station and just going bloop, done. If you plug it in and it just shows up and goes, that's fine. For us, that's cool. All we gotta do is put the Bluetooth together. We just gotta make it go the way we want it to go. We'll hack the shit out of it, make it do 17 different things. We'll think it's the coolest thing on earth. But for the people that's just meant for, that's why you gotta drop it in a little dock, and it's gotta go bloop. It's just on, and you just go, and that's all. It has to do that.
That's great when you have a setup. When you have something set up for an array. Like at my desk at work, I have a KVM there, and I can plug this, which is DeX, into the KVM, duck my phone, push a button. That's it.
Who has a KVM at their desk anymore?
I know, right? That's why I was like totally like stoked about it. I'm like, why do we have KVMs at work? Like, people don't even know what a KVM is. I'm like,
I mean, I get it, but like, that's
the IT guy who was part of the whole new work setup was like, "Nah, we have KVMs, man. Like
KVMs are something we would use because I'm an IT guy. We'd use that in the back to image machines, do a whole different stuff.
You know what it is that him and the guy who was ordering also likes having KVMs. Just like put it all around.
KVMs for everyone. Well, the weird thing is technically speaking, people don't use it this way, but technically speaking, your monitor could essentially do that same function.
Now, Sam, can you explain a KVM just for our audio listeners who don't know about what?
Well, basically, a KVM is you can make it a box, it could be a bunch of cables, and all it really stands for is your keyboard, video, mouse. It takes one keyboard, one video display, and one mouse, and connects it to multiple computers. So the smallest kind of KVM you can get is probably like a 2-to-1. So you take one computer. You take one computer or two computers. And plug it to single monitors, keyboard, and mouse. Or you could take, I think the most I've seen is like 6.
Oh, you can get up to 24, Sam. They can get ridiculous. Yeah, no, they can get ridiculous. Yeah. I mean,
so the most I've seen for consumers is 6, and you can basically just with a keystroke.
You can get up to 8 on a consumer level.
So with a keystroke, you can basically switch from one PC to the other. So for someone like me who has a DeX on my at my home computer, who has an actual gaming rig, who has a server, I can basically have those 3 computers connected all to the same keyboards and mouse, and with just like keystrokes, jump from my server to my gaming rig to DeX. That makes it easier for me.
The only thing I would say, I just thought about something, because what killed the KVM, truthfully, is people learned what RDP was, and we can actually make that basic to regular people enough that they could just RDP into something. What I'd love to see is a way for you to RDP into your phone and DeX pops up. So if you could actually just plug in your phone, not plug it in the desktop, but just plug it up, as long as it's on the same network that it needs to be on. If you could jump right to your phone, do an RDP connection, and not just give you the same screen on your phone, but give you that actual DeX interface when you RDP into it, that would be awesome. Or RDP remote desktop is what that is. Remote desktop portal. That
would be really on point. Because all you would need, realistically, is just a browser, something capable of some kind of device capable of.
That's all you need to do is browse to it. You browse to it, bada bing, bada boom, it pops up right in front of you. I mean that would eliminate most of the hardware. It would go more on the Huawei's way of just bringing just
Samsung. We just sold you an idea. We would take 60% of profits.
I'm being nice. 50.
50? Oh man.
Look, let's just be factual, man. 15. Let's call it a day. It's be fine. Yeah. That 15 is enough. We can do it. But anyway, we've come to the end of the show, guys.
I gotta run, so I'll check you guys out a little bit later.
Yes, he has stuff on his channel. Go check out the stuff.
I'll holler at you guys. Peace.
All right.
Yeah. So as I said, we've come to the end of the show. And usually this is where we talk about what we can expect on our channels. Mr. Juan Bagnell couldn't be here because his internet connection, he's actually traveling hotel. He was getting 300 kilobits per second for high-speed internet.
Oh, wow. So high.
So I just want to find out. That's why Juan isn't here.
Wait, he go in the middle of the desert or something?
New Mexico, I think.
Look at that. I didn't even know where he went. I'm like in the middle of the desert or something. Why can't he get a decent internet? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why. And as you saw, Warren, or you heard Warren just left, but definitely check out his channel, BW1. Richie says Juan is on AOL.
I think AOL was a little better.
It might be a tad bit faster with AOL, a tad bit faster. You can check out, we've got a bunch of videos on the channel this week that you guys should check out. We've got one that dropped today and one I think you guys will like. It's the HomePod versus the Sonos One audio battle to see which is better, especially since Sonos is offering Sonos is offering two Sonos Ones for the price of one HomePod. So $349, you get two Sonos Ones as opposed to a HomePod which is $349.
That's interesting because they're slashing $25 off each one then, because I think Sonos One is $199.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. They're slashing $50 off of two, so that's pretty
Yeah, so that's compelling. So definitely check out our video. It's an audio battle. This has nothing to do with Siri or Alexa. I wanted to see how they actually sounded and give you my take. We've also have our Nokia Steel HR unboxing, which is this bad boy. Definitely check it out. It's also with the Buddy Plus. This would be my new workout tool for a little bit. I usually do 3-month reviews with a couple of devices. This is one of them, so to see how that actually functions.
Oh, that's actually interesting. I think maybe that's something we missed covering. Nokia's news about
maybe
no upside.
Yeah,
no upside on the health devices or whatever. Maybe we can talk about it next week. Yeah.
Also, we had our video on the fingerprint sensor underneath the display. The first device to have it. We got it in-house. Checked it out. Definitely check out the video to see how responsive it is, how it's set up. If it's something that will be going to other devices, it's actually found in the Vivo X20 Plus UD. Very long name, I know. But you check that out. And finally, we have our gaming on a MacBook at 200 frames per second. Yes, it is possible.
What?
Yeah, go check that video out. We'll show you how you can actually do that. And finally, we had our Black Panther spoiler review. Sam joined us as well as Lou Rod. So check that. It was really nice. It was a fun discussion. I'm going to go see the movie again tonight. Tickets. I didn't get assigned seating, so I have to go early.
Oh man!
So it should be fun. Should be fun.
It's even with assigned seating, the tickets have been really the only tickets you can get right now. Tickets right at the front or all the way in the corners,
and like corners in the back like that. So
you got to go early and get some good seating there.
Yeah. Next week, MWC is around the corner. There's all the stuff. We're going to have coverage from MWC as well, even though we will teleport tonight. We'll do instant transmission and go to Barcelona. And we'll give you some coverage of MWC, as well as also I got to check out Far Cry 5. So you can see the shirt here, say Boomer. Some of my coverage for that will be dropping soon, maybe next week, maybe the week after. Not exactly sure, but it was fun, and I can tell you I was thrilled. So thank you very much, guys. Don't forget to check out all the channels. You can check out Juan Magnell at Some Gadget Guy. He is Some Gadget Guy on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Mr. Warren Bowman at Booredatwork.com. It is Booredatwork.com on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as Facebook. Sam, he is BlackIron_man on Twitter. And myself, Bored at Work. It's Bored at Work on all social networks, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as well as our website. Thank you very much, and always enjoy your entertainment.